Welcome to Exploring Consciousness, where we delve into the mysteries of the human consciousness and the technologies that expand our reality. I am Allyn Evans, and today we speak with Allyn Evans, the CEO of the Monroe Institute, a pioneering organization that is specialized in the exploration of human consciousness. Welcome, Allyn.
Thank you.
So, Allyn, what exactly happens at the Monroe Institute that people can't stop talking about?
You know, a lot of people say it's like Hogwarts from the Harry Potter series.
Wow.
Because of the experiences they have, and it really depends on what you're there to do, because you can have such a range of things going on, whether it be remote viewing, an out-of-body experience, being more intuitive, having experiences that are connecting with guidance. You know, those are things that people actually experience in real time.
Wow. And
it's fun.
It surely sounds like. When most of us hear the word sound, we think of music, we think maybe the calm rhythm of the ocean waves. But when you add technology to it, it starts to sound somehow mysterious, maybe scientific. So what does sound technology really mean in the context of consciousness? And how can something so familiar as the sound can become a gateway to expanded awareness?
So sound has been used for years or decades, thousands of years, with chanting, with drumming. It's something that has been expanded on again and again. And what we're doing now is working with sound, yes, but it has frequencies in it. So the way that the brain is experiencing the sound, or the combinations of frequencies, or we call them recipes, that we're putting together, then the brain goes to an entrainment. And so when the brain's entrained, it can help guide you to different brainwave states. And that's what makes it special and different than just listening to music, or the sound of surf, or pink noise, which is just more of that noise, that way to cover noise or frequencies. So it just adds to the specialness of it.
Wow, that really sounds so easy.
Well, I
and
don't
yet
know
at
about
the
that.
same time.
I can't put it together. I just know that there is a recipe, and I know what it does. But.
So, what it's like to be the CEO of the Monroe Institute, the world leading organization in exploring the human consciousness?
You know, it's been an interesting challenge and job that I've enjoyed. It's a big job because it is international, as you pointed out. I'm here in Romania speaking.
And we are so honored to have you.
Thank you. And it's my pleasure, because what we want to do is get this out there to as many people as possible. We have international trainers, just like you, who also help us spread the word about what we do. And it's more about people having a direct experience. So some type of experience, whether it be in a program or with a meditation that has the frequencies, some kind of support that provides opportunities for people to reach these expanded states of consciousness. And the sound technology is just a support tool to help people do that. So I love my job because I get to be the ambassador for something I know really works. And it's, you know, I see it almost every day, how it transforms lives. And I know you have, in the trainings that you've done, the programs that you've facilitated.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed. Do you ever wake up and think, wow, is this my life?
I do. I do. You know, it's interesting because when I first started this work, I've been with Monroe since 2009. I didn't know that it would lead to this. And a lot of what I've done is, I was a trainer, excuse me, and I also volunteered a lot, and it was about my passion, just like you. You know, you're a trainer, you volunteer a whole lot, because you're helping us with translations on a grander scale right now. You're helping with the international effort, and so it tends to lead somewhere, and it leads to where it needs to go for the individual. For me, it happened to be this role that I'm in, and again, I know it's what I've been preparing to do. Yeah.
And definitely we are in the right time and in the right place to do this wonderful thing.
And the world needs it.
And the world needs it. Now, most people have heard whispers about the Monroe Institute, out-of-body experiences, altered states, even declassified CIA documents. But for those who only caught glimpses of it, how would you describe what really happens behind the scenes at Monroe? What is the real magic that people don't expect?
So I want to go back to something you said first, and that's about the CIA declassified document. It's an Army document that was written by a soldier or a lieutenant colonel who attended Gateway years ago when Bob Monroe, the founder, was alive, and he wrote a report. The report was classified until about 10 years ago, then declassified. And for those who have heard about it, it's been this mystery document out there. There was a page missing, which was, from our perspective, an error, a clerical error. We had the page all along, and it turned it into this sensational thing, which of course we've enjoyed the attention, but it's not what it seems to be. You know, it's just one man's opinion of taking Gateway is basically what it is. So back to the second part of this question, it was about what makes it so special, and I think I alluded to that earlier in one of the previous questions, but it's just because it's a direct experience. So individuals, whether they come to the Institute or whether they go to a program like yours or they do it in their own home, it's about having the experience yourself. And that's what helps people switch or transition from believing to knowing that something is real for them. So that's the magic.
And this also helps us link to the next question. Okay. Why do people leave Monroe saying, I'm not the same person anymore?
This happens every week. I get to witness. I actually trained a Gateway program 2 weeks ago as a guest trainer for a special group, a private group. And it was just so much fun to watch. You know, the people that come in are very different than the people who leave. And it's not because there's any, it's not that it's unique as far as, well, it is unique in what we do, the programming, but it's not just extraordinarily special. It's just that each individual is going through their own experiences during the meditations. You do that most of the day, and you're having these insights that you normally would not be having that help heal, that help lead you to transforming and changing internally in a very positive way. So again, I think it's really important and I highly recommend it.
And why do so many people say Monroe feels like home, even though they have been there just one time?
Yeah. So that happened to me the first time I attended, and I wasn't expecting it at all. I mean, I wasn't walking in there. Actually, I was very stressed when I first attended my first Gateway. And I did go to the Monroe campus, and I was worried about, my daughter was at home, I had dogs that had escaped the fence, I'd gotten to call about, so I was just so stressed out. But I walked into the main campus where we stayed, I turned a corner, and the minute I did that, I felt this sense of, you're home. I mean, it just surrounded me, and I hear people say that all the time. And I remember one time I was going back to the Institute for a graduate program, again as a participant, and I'm texting my husband at the time and saying, I'm here. And I looked down and I had text, I am home. And I quickly, I'd written it, thank goodness I hadn't hit send yet. I quickly changed it because I thought, I don't know, he'll like that I'm saying I'm home. But I heard some people say it last week. It's just a very common experience for people to have, and I don't even know where it comes from, because we're not talking about it before it happens. It just happens and then people report it.
That happened to me as well. What I think is that it made me feel so close to myself, to my essence, maybe. And this is what created the sense, the feeling of being home. Being home, home meaning in a beautiful, special, personal place. This is what was my own perception. For someone skeptical about consciousness exploration, what experience at Monroe do you think blew their mind the most?
Yeah, so that I'll give you an example, but we do things that are scientifically based. So when we're talking about the experiences that people have using the sound technology, they're not. We have survey data that shows that people have transformation. But as far as when we are using these tools, they are, we study them. We have 2 scientists on board, and we look at EEGs and brainwave patterns to see, what is happening and to try to make sense of it. As far as the most interesting thing that I can think of right now, there's a lot. There's many things, but the time that Kimala Rose, who's one of our participants, bit a fire poker.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's really impressive, and if you try to bend it back, people can't do it. And the funny thing about the story is that several men tried it before she did, and that nobody could do it.
How did she do it?
She was taking MC Squared, which is a program where we work on these kind of things, like bending spoons and forks and lighting light bulbs with our hands, growing seeds. So she was in that space, and then that's what we do. We teach people how to get in that space to manipulate matter.
That is amazing.
You do use your hands. I want to say that, because some people think we're talking about with our mind like Matrix, and that's a little bit beyond us at this point. We will learn it, but not yet.
So, what is consciousness? Is it something we have, or is it something we are?
That is a very difficult question, and there are scientists and researchers and shows on Gaia that try to answer it. So I'm not going to answer it in the way that as far as like a definition. I think when we talk about the conscious mind, that's talking about what we know and what we perceive. And then we deal with the subconscious mind, where all those things are hidden from us. And so with the work that we do, we can put those two together, so we're communicating with a larger aspect of ourselves.
Would you say that dreams could be glimpses into deeper layers of consciousness?
For you individually, for the
Yes.
person, yes. And typically, when you look at dream work compared to out-of-body experiences, the difference is with dream work, you're working with yourself. You're working with a person, like different aspects of yourself. So when you, at least this is my belief, when you have dreams and you've got people in it that you recognize, they're representing parts of yourself. So if you have a dream about me, I would say, Elena, what do you think about when you think about me? Like, how do you perceive me? What do you have that maybe you want to have, or you are having or growing into or experiencing? And you look at it that way to help understand what's happening with the dream. Out of body can be totally different because it's taking you outside of yourself. So it's not about that inner healing work that goes on. Did I answer the question?
Yes,
Okay.
it is very interesting. Anyway, we hope to have more podcasts where our viewers can actually get even more informed and more information about the lucid dreaming and out-of-body experiences.
Yeah, and lucid dreaming is also a next layer of dream work. And still, and Luigi Scambriella, who's one of our trainers, always says, or I've heard him say, that lucid dreaming is very similar to dreams. As far as that characterization of personalities playing out in your dreams and being more of you, the total self of you, and again, working through things typically is what that's about. And then the OBE is again where it's taking you externally. But lucid dreaming is a lot of fun. So for those who haven't tried it, that's something to look into. And
how would you describe lucid dreaming versus dreaming?
For me, the main definition would be that you recognize you're playing in it. So you become consciously aware that you can turn a different way, or walk out of a room, or change a dress, or So it's where you're in more control. Whereas a dream that's just considered like a regular dream, you're not consciously in control of it. You remember it later, and you work with the images and the messages. Lucid dreaming, you can actually, if you don't like what's happening, you can change the ending,
Wow. They say that it could be a great tool for manifesting things.
Yes, they say that about lucid dreaming and out-of-body experiences, because your brain doesn't know the difference. So if you're, and they say that about healing too, so if you're having an out of body, you've got cancer, you can work on healing and are seeing yourself whole and cancer free in that experience, and then it can come back and translate to physical body.
Wow,
Yeah.
that is interesting. There is a lot of wow in this podcast, and still not enough.
More questions.
How about altered states? Do you think they could be like a thing that comes with our birthright, like we are multi-dimensional beings?
Mm-hmm. I do. I think, and I also think we can all be psychic. We can all remote view. We can all have out of bodies, which we do and just don't remember, I think, as well as lucid dreams. So all of it being the fire poker, all of that is things that we can do. It's a matter of our attention and focus, and so learning how and then practice is how to step into that. But and then the altered states, when we're looking at it, we're looking at brainwave states. So someone that's a gifted psychic or a medium, for example, they're going to be hanging out in an alpha theta area more. They're going to have more bands of that. So we can train our brains with EEG technology to stay and hold those states, and the sound technology helps. So that's why we as normal human beings who we think those are superpowers, we all have access, but that can like jumpstart the process for us and hold us in those spaces for longer periods of time.
I wonder why we are not being educated to practice such states. In fact, it may seem that we are taught to fear the exact states that reveal who we really are.
Right. I think that's shifting though, don't you? I think we're seeing a change.
Yes.
I mean, it's not in our elementary schools or anything like that, but it's talked about more. People are sharing their experiences more, so it's becoming more mainstream for us to say, hey, why aren't we accessing these states more often, and why aren't we using them for our mental health, emotional health, spiritual health?
Can our brain be then trained to explore other realities?
So the same kind of process. So the program that you teach, Exploring Consciousness, that is a step in that direction, because you're learning how to be in what we call a focus 10 state that we label body asleep, mind awake. And that's a foundational state for these other things. So if I get into these very, very deep meditative states and I stay alert, then I'm more likely to be consciously aware of what's happening. And so it's excellent training ground, and it is something I think more people are understanding and being exposed to.
Have you ever left your body and watched yourself from above?
I have. So that is called a conventional or traditional or classic out-of-body experience, and about 20% I think is the last study that I saw that will have it that way. So it's not necessary, but if you do have a classical one, that is typically the vibration, the very heavy vibrations. Then you might hear like a freight train sound, and then you realize you're lifting out, and it's more of an energetic body kind of coming up and out. Usually for me it was through the shoulder. I was reading my journals not too long ago. It would be out through the shoulder. And then, so one of those times when that was happening to me, I was like, I want to see myself. I'm going to turn around and look. So when I perceived that I was out and above, I looked, and there I was, laying in the bed or lying in the bed. And then I usually would go out the window for some reason, even though you could go out walls and doors. You don't have to have an open window or an open door to leave. But yes, I did see myself. But what I want to tell people though is, again, it's not really how you do it. Not even if you never seem to think you have an out-of-body experience. It's really more about what happens as a result of that exploration. So maybe it's more of projected consciousness, where you do find yourself having experiences, but you don't consider it out of body. You don't remember when things unfolded, and you all of a sudden find yourself consciously somewhere else. So I like people to experience it enough, which they do in our programs, to understand that the how you do it is not as important.
Bob Monroe, in his first episode of Out of Body, he remained in his own room. Yeah. Did you have a curiosity to visit anyone in your first conscious out-of-body?
Yes, so that's interesting because, and Bob Monroe labeled it, he called it locale 1, 2, and 3. And so with locale 1, you tend to be what you're talking about in your, in your area where you are just like, say, in your bedroom or in your house or in somewhere that you're very familiar. Mm-hmm. Locale 2 is getting us into other realms, locale 3 even more. And so with what you're asking, locale 1 actually is one of the more difficult ones to do. Locale 2 is the easier one to do, which is where you're finding yourself in maybe in Egypt, and it's hundreds of years ago or thousands of years ago. So it's kind of it's a different reality for you. It's not verifiable. It's just an experience you have. I have had some locale 1s, but they were very brief and kind of bizarre, mm-hmm. which is also another feature of a locale 1, because you might, let's just say you had an out of body right now, and we're here at this table. You and I are talking. You see us. You see the cameras. You see, that we have glasses of water.
I may do this later.
But you see a lamp right here, and you know there's not a lamp in this room, mm-hmm. but energetically, you're seeing that imprint of a lamp. So it can be different. Like one time I remember looking at a mirror when I was having a locale 1 OBE, and it looked like I had 5 navels, belly buttons. So that was not reality, but I was in that locale 1. But I've had very few experiences doing locale 1 and more of the locale 2.
So we are back to a question about dreaming and
okay.
reality. If you can wake up inside your dream, could this mean that even now we could be dreaming? Could this be a dream that we are in right now, as mm-hmm. opposed to, or as viewed from a different reality?
Mm-hmm. That is a very good question. I don't know the answer, but I don't know anybody would know the answer to that, because it would be subjectively based on experiences that you've had, which I haven't had that, but it certainly is conceivable, mm-hmm. That we are living parallel lives, and so we're engaged in different ways.
I had an experience of what they would call near death, mm-hmm. and my first impression was, I just came out of this nightmare. I just finished this nightmare. I'm so free at last. And I was wondering if this is something common or it just happened to me.
So was it, you had that experience during this lifetime?
This lifetime.
And it was just this life, okay. No, I think that's common, and I think sometimes people don't want to go back.
Yes, I didn't want to come back.
Yeah, but you probably were probably told it wasn't time, or something brought you back. Yeah.
Yes. I even tried to negotiate.
Yeah.
Bargain. It didn't work.
I've never had a near-death experience, but I have heard people say exactly what you're saying. I've read books of people saying the same thing, that they really, it's so peaceful, so joyful. They're so expanded. They're out of this physical containment, and they perceive it.
Yes.
And understand it, and you're perceiving all the love and unconditional love and whatever this is that this yes, encompassing you at the moment.
Yes, it's exactly the best description.
Yeah.
It did feel as well like floating in an ocean of love.
Okay. So sometimes it's hard to come back if you're having that experience. But again, I do think that we have, and this is my opinion, but I do think we have, a purpose for being here, and there's certain things that we need to be doing before we transition, mm-hmm. because that's why we're here. Bob called it the Earth Life System, mm-hmm. and it's like a game that we're playing. And then for our highest evolution of our personal soul at this time, we're given situations, circumstances that we need to live through, and some of them are really bad. Some of them are, hurt and are painful, and some of them are really good and very joyful. But it's mm-hmm. best for our soul, evolution.
Do you think mediums really connect to the dead people, or are they tuning into a certain frequency?
Now that's a good question too, and I don't know the scientific answer to that.
I have been working a lot.
Yeah.
Good questions only.
But my perception is that it could be either, because I think you can have a frequency of an individual or something there that they might connect with, even if they're not really there anymore because they've moved on to different situations. Or, and again, this is my belief. If you believe in reincarnation, and the way I'm going to describe it is very linear, so I'm not even sure I believe it. But I would think it, just like with Bob Monroe when he wrote his last book, he said, I'm not going to be here. You know, I'm going to be moving on to my next experience, which won't be on Earth. So, but people see him, and people have visions of experiencing him, having dreams with him. So what is that? Is he really still around, or is he really gone? And that's just some essence of him that is being tapped into vibrationally. It makes me think about, you know, the biofield imaging that we've used when I train energy medicine. It's a software that helps us look at energetic. One way that Brian Daly, who's my co-trainer, used it before we started doing energy medicine was for paranormal activity. And so I believe it was picking up energetic imprints of things. So you would have a picture that would be taken with the biofield imaging photography or even a video, and you would see things that weren't there. So it would be like a crystal chandelier in the ceiling, or it would be a piece of furniture that physically wasn't there. So what is it? Why is it there? It's an imprint, an energetic imprint from another time. And so maybe that's similar to what it, you know, how it works. But I also think you can have direct access, and I've had experience myself with guidance, with deceased loved ones, who I think are still playing that role of assisting me, if that makes sense.
Yes, that was actually my next question.
Okay.
If you ever sensed the presence of a loved one, or maybe you felt yourself guided by them.
So I have. One was a friend from college that has passed away. I have, this is an interesting one. I have what I suppose is a mother and father that were with me when I had a lifetime in Germany. And a lot of times when I do meditations, I'll be told somebody wants to see you, and I'll be like, well, who? And they go, your mama and your papa. And I'm like, but my mama and dad are here, you know, they're still here. So I've learned that it's my mama and my papa from a German lifetime. Now what's interesting is she wants to check, she's really the one, she wants to check in, and I don't have any emotional connection at all to this being, this entity, this deceased loved one, but she does to me. And so I find that very interesting. And I've seen my grandmothers, and you know, I haven't really communicated with them, but I've seen them.
You think they would have much more access to a vaster database of information? So
I
they would
do.
know more than we do.
Now, okay, so this is where you got to be careful, I think. Again, this is my opinion. Just because someone dies doesn't make them smarter. So they do have access, but do they know it? So they're still evolving as a soul. So some could and some won't. So you need to take that into consideration, at least again, my belief, when you're having these communications.
Do you think someone could learn how to experience or to practice mediumship?
Yes, I do. I think we can all do any of it. Now, some of us are very gifted, and I use the analogy of like someone playing the piano. Someone like me, I'm learning chopsticks and a few other songs. But there's a concert pianist who, you know, he or she is on stage. Well, no matter how hard I practice, I'm never going to be that. It's just not possible. But I can play the piano. And I think it's valuable. So you might think, well, if I can't be the gifted person on stage, should I even be doing this? And I would say yes. because no matter the level that you have the potential to reach, that's beneficial for you and for your soul evolution. And it does help you tap into those, that sixth sense, which is important, I think. It just gives you more information to play and work with in this life earth system.
Yes, they say that this is just a rare gift or a natural ability, and only certain people could do this. Would you say that the physical world is home or just our current location?
I haven't thought about it that way. Again, from my perception and my experience, I would say that it's home for the time being. But then again, I don't know, I haven't experienced parallel lives. I've experienced past lives. I've had glimpses into future. But as far as parallel, I haven't. So, is there something going on at the same time? This is one more home than the other? Is my soul the place that's really home, and I'm just kind of the actor, in this scene? I don't know the answer.
So it's possible to explore the universe without even having to move our physical body for an inch.
Yes. And that's where the sound technology can be supportive, because you can, there's research that's been done on people that have practiced meditation for years, like 25, 35 years. And they have because they've trained so much, they can put themselves in these brainwave states that give you access to those kind of travels. So the sound technology is something that can support an individual like you or me who has not had that discipline, who hasn't been meditating for decades, to reach those same states. And it also helps hold you there. So it can be for an extended period of time so that you can have your own experiences.
So you could travel anywhere, anytime?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. Some of us have the ability to be more directive than others. And I tend to be, I'm the kind of person that says, hey, where do you want to take me today? Instead of, I want to go there. But people who are very directive and say, I want to go there, you can, build that muscle and be more precise. I just don't have the desire to do that.
What does I am more than my physical body mean?
So that is what we call our only dogma at the Monroe Institute. So what we're asking you to believe, but you don't even have to believe it, we'll still accept you with open arms. We're asking you to believe that you are more than your physical body, so that you can have these experiences and, as you said, travel and reach these places that you haven't reached before, access to guidance that you wouldn't have otherwise, help that subconscious mind information come to the conscious mind for healing.
What do you think about a gut feeling? Could a gut feeling be intuition? Could it be a message from a loved one? What could be a gut feeling? So
gut feeling, and again, my perception is that that's more instinctual. And we tend to have more instinctual responses than what we would call intuitive responses. So I would put that there. But it is, to me, a sixth sense intuitive hit, because you're having some type of reaction. You might be, say, you're in a meeting with your boss, and your boss says, I've got this great opportunity for you. It's going to be a promotion. You're going to love it. And lays it all out. And as your logical mind is going, oh yeah, right, this is great because I'm getting a raise and the boss picked me, but you're having a sinking feeling in your gut, and all of a sudden it feels so heavy and you feel tired. That is your intuitive response to that opportunity. So it could be intuition. What is really intuition? Could it be just a feeling, or could it be even the GPS of our soul that is whispering directions that we forgot about? Yep, I think it's more of that, and then our feelings can help gauge how we're doing with what the direction we're taking. So yeah, I certainly think it's a way for our soul and higher self to talk to us. Is your intuition really your sixth sense, or should it be really the first? Oh, that's a good one. Yes, I think it should be the first. But the reason we say that is because we have 5 physical senses. Mm-hmm. And so then that's been, tagged on as the additional sense that some people believe not everyone has. And I beg to differ. We all have it. Mm-hmm. It's just how much are we accessing it.
And now for the closing of our podcast, could you offer some simple tools for a beginner in consciousness exploration?
Yes, so it's really about taking time to do this work. And I believe being exposed to the sound technology is a really powerful way to do that. So it's establishing a practice. So setting aside time to meditate with the sound technology. Monroe Sound Technology is one. And I would say we have an Expand app. And there's a free subscription. You can also pay a little bit more and have a larger selection. But there are meditations that are 5 minutes long. There are meditations that go up to 40 minutes long, maybe even 45. And so you can create a practice, and I would say a regular practice, so that you can build that muscle and start tapping in a way that you maybe haven't before. You can use it to support sleep. You can use it to support concentration. There's very practical applications with it besides just the fun stuff.
How many applications does this technology have?
Well, so you can look at it for pain management. You can look at it for sleep support, like I said, relaxation and stress. I know for me personally, after using it all these years, my anxiety it shifted. And I had 2 situations back to back that brought it home to me. And this was as long ago as 2012. I think it's either 2011 or 2012. And one of them was a tornado was right over my house. And I gathered my daughter and the dogs, and I had the radio like we do, and you get into an interior room because a tornado will implode, and the interior rooms without exterior walls are the safest place to be. So I found that one room in my house, put everybody in there. We're sitting there listening to the radio, and the announcer says the tornado is located over Loper Avenue and Iva Drive. And I was like, okay, that's my house. Like, that is right over my house. So in that moment, I was like, okay, I'm either going to die, get hurt really badly, or it's going to pass. And then I realized I wasn't afraid. I wasn't stressed. I was at peace, with whatever happened. That was a big shift for me from how I had been responding to the external world. A month later, I'm having surgery. And right before I go into the surgical area, they sat me down in a chair looking at everything. I was looking at the table, I was looking at the equipment, the tools, everything they were going to use, to do their thing. And the nurse is taking my pulse, and she keeps like taking it and shaking her head and then taking it again. And finally she goes, "You are the calmest person that I have ever worked with before having surgery." And I mean, I wouldn't have thought about it that way. I just was doing, doing my thing. I had listened to some sound technology before that morning,
It's amazing how efficient this technology.
So it has practical uses. It can help you with studying because of the concentration signals. So there's a lot of things it can do as far as practical.
Thank you for sharing all these wonderful things with us
You're
today.
welcome. My pleasure.
And that wraps up today's fascinating conversation with Allyn Evans. Allyn, thank you so much for the wonderful insights about the consciousness exploration and the groundbreaking work of the Monroe Institute.
Thank you. And I'm going to be talking more about this at the conference in October at the RO Palace in Brasov.
That is great, and we are really looking forward to it. I know our viewers are eager to dive deeper into this world. And for those of you who are curious to learn more, stay tuned. Until then, keep exploring your consciousness, and remember, the journey is just beginning.